I was literally breathless, as I witnessed history in the making. Incumbent candidates for the Wisconsin Supreme Court generally get re-elected in a landslide. But in the general election on Tuesday, progressive JoAnne Kloppenburg closed the gap and won by a razor-thin margin against conservative Justice David Prosser. This is proof that the grassroots army that formed to battle against Scott Walker's war on workers is a force to be reckoned with. We expect a recount, but what we don't expect the other side to do is cheat. But we have seen countless times how Republicans will try to rig an election. Yes, they're guilty of election fraud and should be locked up for it.
It's not unusual in any big election for a few ballots to go missing or not get counted. But when a county clerk suddenly announces the discovery of more than 14,000 votes from an entire city 2 days after an election decided by just 204 votes with more than 10,000 going to the loser, that's hard to fathom. But Republican County Clerk Kathy Nicholas wants us to believe that's what happened in the race for a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. In a statement, Kloppenburg campaign manager Melissa Mulliken said, Wisconsin voters deserve a full explanation of how and why these 14,000 votes from an entire city were missed. To that end, there will be filing open records requests for all relevant documentation related to the reporting of election results in Waukesha County, as well as to the discovery and reporting of the errors announced by the county.
According to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Nicholas has had a long career in Republican politics and worked in the Assembly Republican caucus during the time that Prosser, a former Republican lawmaker, served as the Assembly Speaker. The Cap Times in Madison also reports Nicholas has a history of secretive and erratic handling of election results. Nicholas claims that it was human error that caused her to lose the Brookfield results on her personal computer where she had secreted away the data. Yet, she apparently knew of the mistake for 29 hours before reporting it and then handed the information off to conservative bloggers and talk radio personalities. Citizen Action of Wisconsin has called an immediate federal investigation and immediate impoundment of all computer equipment, ballots, and other relevant evidence needed to verify a fair vote count in Waukesha County.
In the early days of our nation, there were those who wanted to create a new nobility, with lords and knights and even a king and queen who would never have to seek being elected by the common folk. These early conservatives saw themselves as that ruling class, thinking that they were somehow better than everyone else. Thankfully, the majority of the Founding Fathers chose to make this a democratic nation instead. Those early Democrats valued the will of the American people. This is why the First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech, of the press, of religion, and to protest peacefully. The last thing that the Founding Fathers wanted was to silence the American people. It would seem, however, that silencing the American people is a primary goal of the Republican Party. The GOP has become a party of thugs in their treatment of anyone who differs just slightly. By trying to remove collective bargaining, Republicans have been trying to silence the voice of working America. By limiting which Americans can vote, Republicans are trying to control the outcome of elections. If they cannot stop enough progressives from voting, then they will just not count the votes. And if they lose election, well, then they will just add fictional votes.